Alaikum and welcome to Open Dialogue. We are here today discussing more social issues. Inshallah, you will be aware that I have actually posted a different advert with regards to the show today, but we've had to change last minute. But I've made sure that we still have a new topic and guests, and they've come even from far just to be with me here today, and that is our Muslims giving back to the community. The show is about bringing information and education to all of us so that we can actually have more awareness of our society and surroundings. Inshallah, today we will continue to talk on different topics, and the one that I've chosen today is regarding the stigma that is attached to our Muslims and our Islam. With me joining us, we have always Syed Razavi. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining me.
Assalamu alaikum.
And we have Omar Khan. Thank you so much for being here today and traveling so far. We also have Minhal Khafaji. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
So, the topic today, we have spoken a lot about this with regards to Muslims that are being viewed in the media. But I think that it's not just about the media. It is about how people from the outside, as well as in our communities, view Islam and Muslims today. And obviously I have you two who are young minds, you know, in their 20s, who are in today's day and age, which we need to hear these kind of voices. We need to hear what's going on in the university and in work. And how is it changing for our generation? I'll start with you, Minhal. So, firstly, from, say, the outside point of view of how the outsiders, like outside our community, outside Islam, outside our religion, what is your experience as to how we are looked upon as Muslims, for example, and the religion itself?
First of all, I'd like to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for the opportunity of me being here. The way we're viewed outside, I'd say because I'm still, still young, still going into my 20s, I haven't experienced that much Islamophobia. I haven't really seen it. All I have is heard about it.
Right.
But I think what I can gather from what I've heard and from what I see within our communities, it's that, as before the show, Brother Omar mentioned, that our communities are very, very closed off.
Okay, in what way?
In a way that if you want to go to a specific area, let's say within London or the UK, take for example South London.
Yeah.
South London is predominantly Asian community. We've closed off our doors in a way that we've taken our communities and put them in one area, and we find that the other communities have not been able to integrate within us because we haven't allowed them to.
Okay.
So you find that because we've become a closed off community, we haven't allowed for people to see the real Islam, and we've allowed them to only take the media perspective of Islam and have that in their head. So when they see a Muslim, they only think of what they've seen in the media rather than actually getting to know a Muslim and spending time with a Muslim and seeing what the religion is actually about.
I get your point, Brother Minhal, but the thing is, I understand we might live in certain areas that we choose, which is close to our surroundings with regards to our community, but we are still working and going into schools which are mixed. Do you not think that has an effect, Brother Omar?
Certainly. Minhal's touched on a very good point there. We do live in certain areas such as Ilford, we talked about South London, Upton Park, these are just within London itself, that are predominantly Asian or Muslim. But I mean, generation upon generation, things have improved, let's be very honest. We've got many doctors in our community, we have many dentists, we have successful business people, we have many good teachers, nurses and so on and so forth.
There is integration.
So let's not confuse the two. Whilst we may live in certain areas which are convenience for us, masajid, Islamic centres being there, halal food, our own little sort of cliques and shops, you can say.
Yeah.
But we have progressed, mashallah. I mean, there's so many Muslims. We had an event, do you remember, a couple of years ago, the top 100 Muslims, for example, and you see so many successful Muslims, TV presenters, amongst other things. So we are progressing. Let's not look pessimistically. Let's be optimistic. There are areas we need to improve on.
Yeah.
And Allah tells us in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hujurat, which is chapter number 49, verse number 13, He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. I have created you, O mankind, in nations and tribes, so that you may come to know one another. So we have to integrate into society. It's a must upon us to do so.
Okay. Syed, do you think that our community still needs room for improvement when it comes to integration, for example? Because that's one of the stigmas that is constantly being thrown at us for not integrating. So I know that it could be a generalization to say that it's just the media, but do we need to do more as Muslims in our community? And if so, what is that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us to this world to follow the stages of perfection. And this is one of the goals in this world. While we are here, we have to struggle, we have to achieve the stages of perfection, and each of us may reach different level, but we have to make an effort. And that's why it has been, the dunya has been referred as the testing ground, as fitna. Fitna is like a sieve. Fitna literally means sieve, which if you put everything in it, what comes out of it is the pure bit. I mean, this world purifies us for the world hereafter. So, and that purification leads us towards perfection. And of course, we cannot be equal to Prophet Muhammad or infallibles. We can never be equal to them. But yet we have to follow that stage.
Just on your point there, on your question, there's a lot of things that can be done. For example, you know, I give a huge credit to the universities out there, the university circles, our Muslim circles, I'd say our Shia circles, who've created societies. You know, it's known around the UK, for example, the University of Sheffield, APSOC, King's College, APSOC, Queen Mary's APSOC, Ahlebait Society, where it's not only for Shias, because I've been to APSOCs, I've been to multiple APSOCs around London, not the UK. But inshallah, when I'm able to go out, I'll go to APSOCs around the universities and outside London. And what they do is they bring people together. You know, atheist, Christian, Jewish, Sikh, Hindu. Bring them and let them know what Islam is about. Let them know who the Ahlebait are, what they were about. And you know, who is Hussein, an amazing initiative that's gone global. Who target you know, people who have this idea of Islam as a blood-shedding religion, religion which oppresses women, and they've told them, look, this is what we believe in. These are the people that we look up to. Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the 10th of Muharram. This is who we look up to. Man who stood up for justice. Man who sacrificed his family for the sake of justice. And I give huge credit to them. And also, you know, like I've mentioned before on the show, blood donation campaigns. You know, the Islamic Centre of England have an amazing blood donation campaign where, you know, everyone, whatever background, whatever religion you come from, they're able to go there, you know, donate blood, interfaith programs with the blood donation campaign. For example, Ahlebait Foundation, where they go to other places of worship, and we, you know, we're coming as Muslims to your place of worship to come together, have a blood donation campaign, save a life, and you know, you get to know about my religion more, and I get to know about your religion more.
That is very true. I mean, the only thing that I could see about that is that unless people are willing to take the initiative to introduce the interfaith, like personally, I invite many different people on this show, whether they're from the Shia, Sunni, whichever background, whether they're even from our faith or another faith. I've had guests on these shows which are very multicultural, regardless of faith or not faith. So unless individuals take that initiative to go out there and do things, and there are examples, I still feel that there's still a way of looking at Muslims is still a little bit maybe backward, or the religion is backward, or we are performing in a particular way. And I'm trying to understand, where is this coming from? Especially when it comes to, for example, women. Like, we are still looked upon as oppressed and dressed in a particular way, which still looks like as if it is something that we are not allowing us to do. But I know that, there's both sides to it. So, Brother Omar, what would you say on that opinion when it comes to especially how people from the outside still look at us? Because even with all the integration, is there real integration where they are understanding us with regards to our ways moving forward in our faith and belief?
Yeah, sure. So let's touch upon the point about women. Does
Okay.
Islam oppress women? Islam oppresses women. Islam makes women do this, makes women do that, makes women cover up. So to understand that, let's look at the context of the origin of Islam. Islam came to an Arabian society who were burying their daughters alive. Let's look at the verse of the Quran. بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. Allah tells us, for what wrong deed have you killed me? They were burying their daughters alive. Women had no inheritance. They had no financial means in many cases. It was a society where women were pushed to one side, essentially. Islam came, Islam gave women rights, Islam gave women inheritance. Islam came and said to a woman, you can work if you want to, but you don't have to, actually.
Yeah.
Your husband has to provide everything for you. If you want to work and have your own finances, that's entirely up to you, but it's nothing to do with him.
I'd say men are oppressed in Islam.
Yeah, no, of
have to
course.
go out and do everything.
But that's a very good point, because the thing is, as much as we have these rules in Islam, is it really being practiced even with our Muslim communities, though? That's the
let's
issue.
not conflate culture and religion. Let's not confuse the two.
That's
We have
it,
to
but
draw
what
a
are we
distinction
living?
between
What
the
are
two.
we living, though? Is it, are we living the culture, or are we living the religion? And from what I hear, the complaints, and what I see, that's happening, and the things that are going on, unfortunately, when I come back to, giving some people some insights as well, is to say, well, take away the culture, there's no problem. But the problem is always the culture, because unfortunately, we are brought up in society, living in this way, and this way is actually destroying us, even
We
when it
have
comes
an
to
entire
marriage.
chapter of the Quran, Surah An-Nisa.
Yes,
Surah
we know
Surah
that.
Maryam.
Yeah.
So look at the honor and the station of women in the religion. A whole chapter is named after women. A whole chapter is named after Maryam. There isn't a gospel in the Bible called the Gospel of Mary. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maulana. Maybe I missed that one.
She's mentioned in the Quran more than she's mentioned in the Bible.
Correct.
Yeah.
And just touching upon the point of are we doing enough, have we done enough, these problems didn't start until 20, 30 years ago. We're still in the beginning phase. When a lot of terrorist attacks started coming out, people started committing terrorist attacks because of, I don't know what agenda they have.
Yeah.
But these things started 20, 30 years ago. We, as a Muslim community, have started to develop ways to try and integrate within society.
Definitely.
Without compromising our religion. And we, let's say go 100, 200 years forward, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the outcome would be. But because we're in the beginning phase, we're working as hard as we can to integrate within society, to have these interfaith programs, to show people that, look, the Islam you're seeing on TV is completely different to the Islam that we're showing you.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned culture, culture is not Islam.
No, it's not.
Islam is culture. Because there's a lot of things, for example, we have a massive, massive problem within our communities with marriage.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Marriage and racism.
Yes.
I think our khutaba need to have a whole lecture on, or a whole series of lectures on marriage and racism.
Oh, 100%.
Because I'm an Iraqi. If I was to go propose for an Iranian, my parents would say no, and her parents would say no.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Yeah.
She's from my religion.
Yeah.
She's from my creed. She prays.
Yeah.
She fasts. She has taqwa. Why are you not allowing me to marry this woman who's on her religion just because she's not from my country? And it's gone as bad, it's gone as far as being, if she's not from my city,
Oh, yeah.
or if she's from a particular city in Iraq, for example, you're not allowed to marry her.
Yeah, and you know what? It's really funny you say that, because I have complaints all the time with families that have these issues, and they are actually doing wrong by not allowing their children to get married. And these are the only outlooks, and these are from religious families apparently,
yeah.
so-called religious families that have these kinds of issues. And then, okay, even if they want to put education in front, or that person is not right in front, and then over 30 years she's sitting there not married, and these are the problems that we're having.
Exactly.
And it's not about early marriage. Scientifically, we have to understand, for a woman especially, for reproduction and things like that, it is better for her to be married earlier. It's not just Islam promoting it, it's for real reasons for that to happen. So, Brother Omar, before I go to the Syed, I can see you giving a lot of gestures there. So do you have any opinions on this?
I think Maulana is in the best
No one
place.
wants to
That's
take
why I was
this
trying to
right
give the
now.
justice to. Look, like we said, let's not confuse religion and culture. Often we as Muslims are not following our religion essentially
Exactly the
as
point.
it should be followed. So we have our priorities wrong, and that's why we do have some of these problems. I mean, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a big problem. For example, women who were divorcees or widows couldn't get married. So what did he do? Most of the women, 99, all of his wives apart from one were
Widows.
Well, I'm sorry, we're not applying any of that in today's society.
Today's society, if a
Yes.
girl is a divorcee or widow,
Divorcee.
she's discarded and kept to one
Yes.
side.
Exactly, and one of the things is, my wife has to be a virgin. Who said that? Who said that?
If that's the case, then the Prophet ﷺ himself
So
must have done something wrong.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you're putting conditions
Exactly.
which were never placed there in the beginning of this religion. And one of the big things, let's say I found a spouse and I wanna marry her. The costs of weddings are atrocious.
Yes, we have two single men here,
Let's give an example.
and you are talking the truth about what's going on.
Let's give an example. Mahar
Of course.
in this day and age is about minimum 15
But it's the
grand.
parents that are also requesting this, by the way.
And that's
The other generation needs to somehow also learn.
But the only reason they're requesting it is because their daughters are requesting it. Because their daughters
It's
live
both
in a
ways.
society where if you're not dressed in a certain way, or if you don't have a certain brand on, or if you're not able to go out every single night, every single day, to the restaurant or to a cafe with your husband, then he's not going to be of benefit to you. Look at Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Fatima al-Zahra, why did she marry Amir al-Mu'mineen? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen, his whole life, he lived it for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He lived his whole life when on the night of the Hijrah, when Amir al-Mu'mineen gave all Rasulullah's debts in Mecca. Amir al-Mu'mineen was instructed by Rasulullah to take the Fawatim from Mecca to Medina. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, Fatima the daughter of Hamza, and Fatima bint Asad, his mother. And when they sent a search party to go out and kill them essentially, Fatima al-Zahra saw that Amir al-Mu'mineen would lay his life out for Rasulullah and the religion of Islam, and that's why she married him. He was the best suited to marry her. And what was her mahar? 480, 450, I don't know if the Syed can correct me, 480 dirhams of silver. This day and age they asked for £15,000 mahar. They asked for a big wedding hall, which is going to cost about 12,000, 13,000.
Yeah, minimum.
Honeymoon is minimum 10,000.
What about the ring?
Pardon?
The ring.
The ring, I forgot about the ring.
That's the main thing.
The dresses.
Yeah.
He has to have a house.
Mm-hmm.
He has to have a car. Like having a house in London
Yeah.
is around, minimum £500,000.
Minimum.
And, we want our shabab, we want us to get married early at the age of 25, 26. We graduate at 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
If you're like me, who's taken multiple gap years to pursue his dream, okay, I'm going to graduate at 26.
Yeah.
And if I want, all these If my future spouse wants all these things, I'm not going to be able to give that to her at the beginning.
No, of
You
course.
have to wait for me. You know.
Syed, what I'm trying to what I'm hearing right now is that the stigma also exists a lot in the community, and you hear it daily. You deal with lots of family issues, especially. And even though we give the lectures, we give them, we have, like what Brother Minhal has mentioned, so many examples. And we cannot ever really do this. Oh, sorry, I'm going to have to take this call and come back to the question. We have a caller online. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister.
Alaikum salam. Thank you for coming on the show. What is your question or comment?
Mashallah, very interesting topic actually,
Thank you.
Now we are talking about culture and your faith. They are two different things really. Culture is your identity and the faith is your belief. Allah said, I made different races and tribes that you learn from each other. So one tribe isn't given everything good, and the other tribe is given everything bad. So naturally, you have to learn. I think the concept of Islam, if you got to see, this is a very unique religion where people get together at Kaaba 360 degrees. People all over the world, they gather at one point. And we take what is good and what is bad. We
Of course.
dismiss it. The Prophet ﷺ changed a lot of things in the Arab culture at that time, which are bad. And he taught people, okay, look, these things are not good and these things, and people adopted it. But the thing is that when you mix the culture with your religion, that's become a dangerous thing. I think this is where probably the problem really lies. Because everybody commemorates the month of Muharram,
Yes.
Ashura. Now, if you see all the cultures, they've got different way of mourning about the tragedy of Karbala. And I don't think there is anything bad about it, because you can pick the good things and leave the bad things. If I have to write something about you, I can fill the pages.
Yeah.
But I'm wasting my time. Why can't I only pick what is good about you? And usually, even in the lectures in our Imam Barga, people will come and criticize, oh my God, look at this Maulana, what he recited for his lecture or whatever. And I always insisted, I said everything what he said can't be bad. And everything what he has said can't be good either. So why don't you pick what is good? Leave the rest of it.
That's true.
Waste of time, because it's no point really arguing over it or discussing about it. Or if you've got a problem, why don't you go and see that particular lecturer and discuss it with him? Because this creates fitna and fasad. And Islam forbids that. I think we have to take it culture and religion, faith, in a different direction. Both are really, really good. I think the faith is the thing which will discipline you and make you a better person. There are cultures which are bad, but unfortunately that is how people have just remained to that sort of a thing. And I think the world is changing. Now we are in Britain. I think we have adopted a lot of English culture as well, and given up something which we think is not. If I was living in the Middle East, I mean, I had to adopt a lot of their culture so that I can be a part and parcel of the community.
I get what you're saying.
Sorry, brother, what was your
I
name?
don't think. I think it's something probably needs more discussion. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. What was your name? Sorry?
My name is Azad. Sorry, Maulana, I didn't say salam to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate
you
that.
for calling.
Inshallah, we'll speak
Thank
soon.
you for
Thank
calling.
you.
So-
Yes, he raised a lot of issues there.
There's one thing I wanted to say about that, which is he has a very valid point of,
Mixing.
we take the good
Yes.
of the culture and integrate within our religion. The only problem with that is, brother, we as human beings, and you're an expert in psychology.
Yeah, I was
and that's
about to
your
say,
field.
yeah.
We as human beings, I can go 50, 60, 70 if Allah gives me that amount to live, that long to live. We can go that long of doing good to our community, doing everything good. But that one bad thing is what I'm going to be remembered for.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how.
And with culture,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good things within each and every one of our cultures. But everyone focuses on the bad.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm going to have a topic on that. Don't worry about the judgment thing. But Syed, as I was coming to you before, sorry, I had to cut off with the phone call. We do have the rituals, and Brother Minhal has, obviously illustrated how much we do have. So much commemoration, so much, role models, so many stories, hadith, riwayats, to prove to us that this is how we have to live. And every time we do have our cultures and communities filling up the mosques, the majalis, the centers, listening to it. But unfortunately, it's like a ritual. And when you go home, it's a different story. And again, culture to a certain extent is our identity, but to a certain extent we're more patriotic to the country that we come from than even treating each other good regardless of where they come from. And for me, that's more of a treatment of being moral and being human in this day and age. So how could we now change those rituals so that they can be real practices? Because a lot of people say, well, that was the time of our Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family. We're not like the Ma'soom. We can't be, like the infallibles. And we're having problems constantly. You and I, we know we have these issues. People come to us to complain about these things. Now, how can we change those mindsets to bring you up to date? It's not about moving into a Western society, no. Our religion already has those examples. So what is it that we need to do next, especially when it comes to our teachers and the new generation?
I think we should follow, Ahlebait have given us enough guidance on this. They have told us, take what is good and leave what is bad. Or look at what is being said, not who is saying it.
Exactly.
And so this rule applies on the cultures as well. Look at the culture that you are, because Islam, like 30, 40 years ago, Islam was not part of many cultures. Now, I traveled a lot in Latin America, Caribbean islands, all the remote places where they had never heard of Islam. Now Islam exists there.
Yes.
And they have their own culture. For example, in Trinidad and Tobago, somebody presented me a whole tragedy of Karbala in rap music.
Oh, wow.
I brought the cassette here and played it for scholars. They said, it doesn't please our ears, but who are we to say this is haram?
Yes.
Because that is the culture in that part of the world.
Yeah.
They convey the message and they give the best message through this. So who am I to say this is haram because it doesn't please my ears? So we have to look, and the beauty of Islam is like a river which goes through different kind of land and picks up the taste, the color of different pieces of land. And so Islam is like that.
I love that explanation. That's beautiful. Brother Omar, I'll come back to you in a minute. I just want to come to you with regards to, again, the practices that we have, because we've spoken a little bit of how outside our communities view us. But I'm more concerned because I think the responsibility lies within our Muslims itself. And because I deal with issues mainly with, day-to-day issues, majority from our communities, regardless of where they come from. And when they come to me with their issues, it seems to me that it is more cultural based. It is more non-Islamic because the Islamic factor is there. Like Syed has mentioned, the answers are there. Why, as humans, even with our knowledge, with our handful of, the encyclopedia at our fingertips, we cannot, as humans, with the advancements that we live, with technology, with all the information that we have, we are not actually reforming to the extent that we need to. I understand where you're going to say that, yes, we are to a certain extent, but I want to tackle, even if it's the 10 or 1%, like Brother Minhal mentioned, those are the things that actually people will pick on to say that, you know, this is the one person that's not doing it. Just like the one person out of, you know, so many 0.1 million people in the world that's living, you know, apparently one terrorist attack makes all of us in a particular way. So it's the same like in our communities. So if it's the small minorities that are doing wrong, we need to also address that first and bring that out. So why do you think that our practices are not really being practiced?
Yeah, so I'll give you a classic example. I remember attending an Islamic centre in Yorkshire not too long ago. An African brother, black brother, walked in, and I believe, if I can remember correctly, this centre, it was a predominantly Pakistani centre. Every single person in the whole room, including myself, I must admit, looked to the right and was looking at this guy as if he was, you know, odd or out of place.
Because he was different, yeah.
Because he was different. And a lot of them actually continued staring, because some people just looked and looked away. Others were actually just continuously staring at him. And I remember speaking to him just to check if he was okay, everything's all right, he's come to the right place, and he told me he's a revert, and obviously he's come to attend a program. So I think the issue is from an educational level and the way people's upbringing is. If you raise children in a certain way, if you speak to them in a certain way, they will then develop into adults and be more accepting and tolerant of these things, of other races, other cultures, people with different opinions to them. What does Allah tell us in the Quran? In Surah Al-Baqarah, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَىٰ كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. All people of the book come to common terms with us and believe that, establish that God is one and He has no partners. What does Allah tell us about the Ahl Kitab? To come and discuss with them. So if Ahl Kitab are going to come close to us and we're going to talk about things, what about our own Muslim community? Are we not going to try and reach out to other people instead of isolating them?
I think we need to really wake up. I mean, that prejudice and racism that you say really does exist. And parenting is another thing that's really important.
That's one point that he read my mind, because I wanted to mention that. You said, where does it start? How do we start? It starts with us.
Yes.
You, me, Brother Omar,
100%.
Syed.
Yes, we're society.
How are we going to raise our children? I'm going to raise my children that, you know, La ikraha fi ddin, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. There is no compulsion in religion. That's one. Two, there's no racism in religion. There is no place for racism. You want to marry a Pakistani brother, by all means go ahead. Is he of our creed? Is he one who prays, who fasts, who's a good human being?
Yeah.
Khalas, what more do I want?
Yeah.
Minhal, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam conquered Mecca, Fath Mecca, and the famous line, everybody knows about this, when he entered, an individual amongst his companions said, Al-yawm yawm al-malhama. Today is the day we get revenge, literally. And what did the Prophet say? Al-yawm yawm al-marhama. Today is the day of forgiveness.
He said even Abu Sufyan's house is safe. If you're in Abu Sufyan's house, you're safe. The one who was most against him in the beginning, in the early years of Islam. And you talked about that 1%, that 10%. You know, in biology, when you study biology, one bacterium in 8 hours becomes 16 million.
There you go.
8 hours. That bacterium has divided so many times, it becomes 16 million. We have to, it's like a small amount of fire is enough to put a whole building, a whole forest, a whole rainforest up in flames. We need to tackle that small amount and not look at it as something small. Like Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, in regards to sinning, don't say a sin is small, because those are the biggest of sins.
Of course, yes.
Look at who you're sinning against.
Look who you're sinning against, that's another one.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always, has mentioned as well, when we look at our sins as being small, He looks at it as being big. And if we look at it as being big, then He looks at it as being small. So at the end of the day, like I said, I'm raising issues in this show and continually doing so because I see the issues that are happening, the day-to-day issues, and I'm so blessed to have young minds like yourself to speak in this way, to give us a sense of what's been out there. And you are literally role models, even
Fahima,
as young as you are.
Let's not confuse an issue though. us integrating into this society doesn't mean we lose our faith. We
Absolutely
are proud
not.
British
Yes.
Muslims.
Exactly.
We're born here, we're raised here, we contribute to society. This is our country.
That's what I'm trying
we
to
love
say,
this country.
yeah.
And we practice our religion freely here, better than we do in the Middle East.
Definitely.
I believe this is probably the greatest country in the world. We have a welfare system that many people don't have. We can go to a mosque right now, for example, for our salah. Nobody's going to stop us, nobody's going to question
You
us.
can speak freely as well, to a certain extent, because you go back to certain places and you cannot do that, even in so-called, Muslim countries with the Sharia law or Muslims that are in charge. It's really difficult, and I know we still have issues in this country, but we can use it to our advantage to move ourselves forward if we as Muslims are the forefront in a lot of areas. I know you are professionals, you're studying as well. All of these things make a difference, but I do also find that even if though we are professionals, like I've invited a lot of people on this show, and I understand for many reasons they're not coming on, but it is also part of your duty to be sharing and having this platform in order to share your knowledge. Don't just keep it for yourself and your children and your family. You need to share that. That alone is sadaqah jariyah as well.
And adding on
pushing
to
that forward. Yes.
Adding on to that, I myself, when I was about 14, 15,
Which wasn't that long ago.
Don't reveal my age. When I was about 14, 15, I used to think the same way as most people think. Iraqi, I want her, from my country, nowhere else, blah, blah, blah. And then when
Where did you get that idea from, though?
Parents. I want to be honest with you, parents. And when you hear the hadith of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, where he says, "Do not inherit your religion, learn it." That's exactly
That
what I
is
did.
so true.
I learnt my religion.
Yes.
Because I used to think that, because, when we're growing up, we get religion.
There is no taqleed in religion.
Yes.
There is no taqleed.
Exactly. Growing up, I was just following what my parents did. And then when you see, do not inherit your religion, learn it. When I learned my religion, I saw that there's no problem in me marrying someone who's not Iraqi, but who's an amazing person, who fears Allah, who loves the Ahlebait alayhim salam. There's no problem in it.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I urge every single one of the viewers to do. Learn your religion, do not inherit it.
I think
Maybe your elders have planned something for you.
exactly. Yeah, he's on there. But the three of us have actually, learned our religion. We are sort of like living role models for that and examples of that, because we have chosen. And we need to also instill in our parents that as much as they are there to give us guidance, but we still need to take our own responsibility, because we are going to be accountable alone.
What was the argument given by the enemies of Islam in the time of the Prophet? Abu Sufyan, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl. You're going to leave the religion of our forefathers?
Yes.
So religion is not inherited.
No,
We
it's
must
not.
seek the truth, and we must study and learn. What did the hadith say? طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيدَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَمُسْلِمَةٍ. Knowledge is compulsory upon every male and female Muslim. The key part there, and female, that women have the right to learn, study, seek knowledge.
And it happens to me quite often when people come with the problems and I give solution. They say, Maulana, but this is not the practice of our family. I said, are you Muslim or not?
Yeah. It's
You
very
came,
simple.
you came to Muslim scholar to find the solution. This is the solution. No, but this is against our norms and traditions.
That's what's holding us back, and that's what I find. And by the way, this is a live call-in show. Please do call in, because the conversation is going to be extended. We have more time until past. And to be honest, I want more of your input, because this is a show for you. As I speak, there we go. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
They have to switch off the TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, we're going to have to maybe ask them to call back. Whoever tried to call, can you please call back and turn off the TV while speaking, please? Inshallah, we'll have another call. But yes, this is a live show, and this is for your own learning and for us to learn while we're in the studio. And I'm raising these issues, so inshallah, we will have much more education with regards to move forward in our lives. I really feel that we have some serious issues in our community, and as much as we want to sort of say that we have moved forward and progressed, we still have to do much more. We have to do so much more to progress and so much more to do, because we are looked upon, I'm sorry, but in a very, very unlikely way. The way that we are looked upon is we are sometimes looked as backward. Religion now is also seen generally as a backward thing. But we don't realize that the morals have also come from there. The rules and the rights for equality, even not to the extent that each one does have their place, but a lot of, like you said, the emphasis on women comes from our religion. So we need to be aware of this. And when we have abuse, when we have oppression, when we have things that are going on in our households, which does not have anything to do with religion at all, but it's been lived upon like it is, that's what really, really is disappointing.
Fahima, the reason this is happening is we have to understand there is a clear agenda at play. Why is it when an individual commits the Oklahoma bombings, who happens to be from a Christian background, he isn't labelled as a Christian terrorist? However, individuals proclaiming to be Muslim, conducting disgusting acts of terror, which are in no way, shape or form supported by Islam or the Quran, these people are labelled as Muslim terrorists. You touched upon the fact we live in a godless society in the West.
I mean, the Prophet spoke about the ones who, you know, claim to be Muslims but commit acts of terror. You know, the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, spoke about the Khawarij.
Yes.
After, I believe it was the Battle of Hunayn.
Yes, that's right.
He spoke about the Khawarij when one of the so-called companions who no one classes as a companion anymore, pulled the beard of the Prophet and said to him, "Why are you not being just with the dealing of the spoils of war?" And you know, the companions wanted to intervene, but Rasulullah said, "Stop! It's from him and the likes of him that the Khawarij will come out." And you find many years later, the Khawarij came and fought Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He said, "If you don't come out and fight Muawiyah, we'll fight you and we'll fight Muawiyah."
We do find also from the outside that we might be excluded in certain jobs or in certain places of work because of maybe wearing hijab, because of our name. We're going to be pulled aside. Even if for men it is still a stigma, because if you don't look it, you will be obviously seen it when you are actually, obviously your name is being held or where you come from. You know, nowadays companies, they want to know a lot more history about you. That is definitely a thing, and I wonder why that is. But at the same time, as you mentioned, actually, you touched on earlier as to when you were in the mosque, and you know, predominantly it was from Pakistani or Khoja background. Our centres even are very segregated, don't you feel?
But that's changing slowly. Look, we have to remember, look, we are probably third generation here now. Give it a bit more time. If you look at the difference between now and the first generation, there is a massive difference.
And
people are mixing more.
majority of them is in English, so it's not even that to say that, you know, that's because it's been done in a particular language, that's actually holding people back from, you know, integrating, because a lot of these mosques are giving English lectures.
It's a gradual change process.
Yes.
During Muharram, I always try to go to the Haidari Mosque in South London, or there's another Pakistani mosque in Southall. We
to integrate,
to integrate. We gathered some of our Iraqi friends who said, "Let's go
somewhere different."
Imam al-Hussein, that's it. There's no Pakistani, Khoja, Iraqi, Iranian, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. Just go and you integrate.
Okay, hopefully we have another caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. I'm calling you from Ireland.
Oh wow, mashallah. Thank you. Welcome to the show. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I just want to have a comment about this wonderful topic. You guys are talking on the telly. Actually, I turned off the TV. I can't hear them. Am I through to...
You are. You're talking. You're on live TV.
All right. Okay. Now, I appreciate what sister and the three wonderful brothers are talking. Culture, in my opinion, is a good thing. And, I mean, we all come from different culture, and that makes it colorful, bunch of flowers. But culture should not take over the religion at all. Religion is far above the cultures. And the problem, living in the Western country, being educated here, I think we have to take a responsibility for the third generation, because we have to be very particular, especially when we are raising them in a house. We should not actually change them saying, look, you're from Iraq, from Iran, of Pakistan or Libya, because we should say, look, you are a Muslim and we were born in that country, and the culture is a nice thing, but culture has nothing to do with Islam. And when they go, for example, I know a place in Ireland, and it's a wonderful Islamic center, I won't name it, but they are so strict. Actually, they have said to everyone, brothers, when you come to the mosque, everyone speaks in English. Because the reason being is, the youngsters actually feeling marginalized. They feel like what's the point that I'm going to the place and they're talking in Urdu or Persian or whatever language.
Yeah.
So this is a strict rule they have taken. Look, everyone who comes here speak in English. And even for the respected imam, we have given strict instruction with actually respectful manner, please talk in English. Of course, you can do Masnoon Khutbah in Arabic, but every speech has to be in English. So at least not only all the sects of Islam, but also the non-Muslims,
Yes.
they are most welcome to come in. Because
Yes.
that's how you can actually bring about the unity, and this is the need of the time. Because that's why we're suffering, because we have enemy within ourselves. It's not someone else. We have to come forward and give the solution to our community, because otherwise we are losing our youngsters. And it's a message for all the respectful imams as well. Please pay attention to the youngster, because they want to talk to you in English. And we have to talk about the common problems, not the problems of course, anyone can read. So just coming back to the culture, culture is a nice thing.
Yes.
It actually gives us an identity. But again, the bigger identity, the way the Prophet ﷺ did actually, and even he welcomed the non-Muslims to the Masjid al-Nabawi, the way he actually forgives. So I think that's a message we have to promote, and this is actually the real culture of Islam. That's all I have to say.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much, brother, for calling in. Assalamu alaikum.
I think
That's
one thing
amazing
here-
what
that's an
he's just
amazing
said,
thing.
yes.
And one amazing thing that just popped into my mind. My first Arba'een that I went to was in 2018. It was with a group of my friends here in London, a group from Al-Akbar Foundation. And when we went, it was actually the first time that the journalist Emily Garthwaite had actually
Oh,
been
right,
to
yes, I
Karbala.
remember.
And when she went and she done her documentary on Karbala and she done her documentary on Arba'een, at the same time the Georgian, I don't know what they call it, priest or pope,
Yeah.
the one who's for the country of Georgia, had actually come on the walk.
Oh, wow.
On the Arba'een. And I think these initiatives right here should be expanded
Definitely.
massively. Imam Hussein TV, they took a man who had cancer by the name of Martin. They took him and they showed him the walk of Arba'een, and he said it's something that's amazing. Documentaries on YouTube, if you wanted to go watch it. I think one thing we should have is, if you are financially stable, if you have the finances, why don't you take someone who's a non-Muslim, take them to Arba'een.
Yeah, no one thinks like that
Show
in a
them
hurry.
Karbala. Show them the walk from Najaf to get that 80-kilometer walk. Show them the love. I'd say take them from Basra to Karbala, because that's like 500, 600 kilometers.
Yeah.
And for a stretch of 500, 600 kilometers, there's just people showing you love for the sake of Islam, for the sake of a man who stood on the day of Ashura to fight for justice and fight for this religion. And take them, show them the love, show them the cooking, show them how hospitable people are.
Yeah.
They bring you into their home, they wash your clothes. There's doctors all around you. There's a pharmacy, free healthcare, all over.
It's an amazing experience.
Actually, there is a movement from Hazrat Abbas's Holy Shrine.
Atabar Abbasi,
To sponsor around 20-25 non-Muslims or converts to visit Karbala every year.
MashaAllah.
So
We should also do that for our other brothers in Islam as well, which are from a different sect, because we have a lot of issues with regards to that integration and understanding as well. So, also what the brother mentioned was that we're not trying to take away our culture. I know a lot of people are afraid that if we don't speak the Arabic or the Urdu or whichever language of your home, that it's taken away your identity. And I understand that to a certain extent, that people are trying to still hold on to their cultures to a certain extent, because it is part of your identity. But remember, it's part. Because identity does not just mean one. You can be Muslim, you can be British, you can be from Iraq or Pakistan or wherever, and you can take on all of that. So the problem is that we need to have this kind of balance. And obviously, because we have chosen to come here, we are given the opportunities to live here and enjoy. So we have to be respectful of that. And our future generations are predominantly speaking and understanding in the English language. So that's the only reason why I'm promoting this, not to take away any of your cultural background, which is obviously part of your identity, and also addressing the common issues. Like I bring across a lot of controversial and common issues in my shows, because unfortunately these are the things that people want to hear in the member when it's been spoken to in certain majalis, so that when they are going, they can take the stories, you know, of the past, they can take the role models, they can take all of that, and they can relate it to today. Brother Omar, do you feel that there's more and more happening?
We have to be very careful about how we approach this. There's a time and a place for everything. Now, certainly there's no issue, Islam, and as long as the culture doesn't conflict with Islam, there's no issue with us speaking our own languages in our own homes, within our own little communities. I'll give you an example. If we were to shout slogans in Arabic for a protest, for example, for a religious march, what sort of reaction do we expect from non-Muslims who are standing there watching when they've heard in the media the chant Allahu Akbar being equated with terrorism, for example?
Exactly.
So we need to be very, think very wisely about what we're doing and how it will better the society. I remember a few years ago, we went to feed the homeless, I think it was in 2014, on the streets. In the middle of the night, it was winter. And this was actually in Muharram, coincidentally. And people were taken back by that. That's something that they were, wow, these people in the middle of the night, why are they doing this? What's motivated them? And even those people we gave food to, they asked, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing?
They're a bit suspicious, do you think? Or
no, they were very appreciative. Why? Because we did it in English. We're giving them food, something that everybody wants, water, drinks. That's what I'm saying, by chanting slogans or doing things that are from back home, that are from the Middle East, that are from South Asia. They don't all necessarily work here.
No.
So we need to apply new strategies, a new way of thinking to life in the West. In America, they're very advanced in this. I mean, Maulana can tell us more. Most of the centres speak English
you're allowed
entirely.
there anymore.
Yeah, that's a separate question. You need to get a 10-year visa, which I got.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they still can revoke that, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean...
I was imprisoned and deported and
No
banned
way.
for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that's definitely another show for that one, definitely. No, I mean, I think what you've highlighted is absolutely correct. And even why go so far and think about, you know, people that are from the streets? I mean, we just have to look at our neighbors. And this is in the Quran. It doesn't say your neighbor has to be from a particular background or anything. And that alone, for me, gives me the sense that you need to be, you know, good. The treatment should be
Do
good
we even
to
talk
anyone.
to our neighbours?
No, we don't. How
Do we
was
know
that
our
we
neighbours?
talk? Oh,
Does
you
neighbour
know?
just being next door in Islam?
Exactly.
It means a lot more than that.
Oh, we have another caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister. It's me again.
Okay. We have about maybe 2-3 minutes before the end, so please have your comments.
Yeah, okay. Now, you see, what I've always seen, we are very negative about our culture, our ways of dealing with the people. We have got a lot of positive things. We are the biggest charity giving people in Britain. We have done a lot of good things. We are feeding the homeless people. There are so many good things. In every culture center or every faith center, you know, there is a discrimination. If there are a lot of Europeans and somebody walks in, you know, they will look at you and say, oh, what the hell is he coming here? I mean, why is he here? You see, so Islam is not that bad. I think what we are portraying, every time I've heard, we are very negative about what we are doing. Because I think there is an inferiority complex. Whatever the Western people think of us, that is what we are digesting. We are a proud people. We have got a culture, we have got... nobody here has come just because they wanted to come here to rob the thing. We have worked for every penny, every sweat we have given. There are people who have conquered places, enslaved people, and all this. There is a lot of negative on the other side, my sister. So I think, please, don't only find the fault in Islam. Every human being has got a fault. Yeah, we must try to make it better. And I think it is an individual. You cannot make all society good. If you make yourself good, you will make your children good. So let's start from there. I think we are getting too much negativeness about we should do this, we should do this. No, we are doing everything possible, but there is a lot of interest as well.
I totally understand. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. He has a good point.
I mean, he has a good point, but
like we said, we're only tackling the 1 or the 10% because that is the danger as well.
not just that. It's the fact that we just can't. You just can't forever dwell on the good. You
Yeah.
just can't forever.
Because there's no improvement and growth.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, there's one thing I read a quote today. It said, "Take the option that scares you the most,
Yes.
because that's gonna make you grow."
Absolutely.
You know, if I dwell, oh look, we're perfect. We have Hussein, we have Absox, we have this, we have Majalis, we have that.
We'll never change.
We'll never change.
Yeah, we'll
We're gonna
never
stick to that.
yes.
We have to focus on the bad.
Yeah.
Because we have bad within our communities, and we need
Yes.
to tackle that. And we need to work on it
Yes.
to
100%.
grow and to integrate within
Yeah,
society.
no, 100%, 100%. No, I agree with you. And I think that what he's saying to a certain extent is true, but yes, we are here to highlight. So basically, we can basically make a difference so that we can actually continue to, we're not trying to say that, oh, the outsiders, we're trying to please them and we have to be apologetic. No, nothing like that. I just think that our religion gives us a standard and we need to go and fulfill those standards, and I don't think that personally we are on those standards by no means. As much as we're doing good, we can do better. As much as we are out there in front, for example, we might be in front in the medical industry or whatever, but we still need to be more in the media, for example, because whoever's even doing all of this, unless we talk about it, it's not being shown in the mainstream, it's not being shown even in our own Islamic centers or even in our channels. Again, there's politics there. Oh, that's another thing, there's politics within our religion. So at the end of the day, we need to understand that we're highlighting this not because we're trying to degrade or be negative about what's happening, but those negativity, again, is like a disease that spreads and it is dangerous. And I think we have a responsibility as Muslims that if we do have platforms like this, again, we listen to the news. What are they saying in the news? They're not giving you only the good. They're giving you majority of what is going on that needs improvement. And unfortunately, in our societies, we do actually have, especially when you're in jobs like mine, where you see a lot of the bad, you see a lot of the negative, and then you want to come out and speak about this. And this is what we're trying to highlight. So, Brother Omar, we've got more time. So I know you're probably thinking, oh, this show is going on for really long, but actually, no, this is a really important topic. I think we've touched on a lot of things. Is there anything else? We've got another 5 minutes or so.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything else that maybe we have missed out on?
Let's end on a positive note. We've looked at the negatives. Certainly there are many, but as the brother said, we've got so many good things to look at.
Absolutely.
But let's not be complacent.
Yes.
Let's not think, oh, we're sit doing that, that's it. Let's sit kushti. There's a lot more we can do, and our standard is so high. I mean, the example we have of Rahmatan lil Alameen, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I mean, we have to really, really aim high, and until we get remotely close to that, it's not good enough. So we have to continue, and I said, with generation, more things will happen. The community will only become more diverse.
Inshallah. And Syed, your last words before we end the show.
That's what Imam Ali used to say, follow me, although I know that you cannot be equal to me, but the target should be Ahlebait. And wherever we reach, inshallah, we are blessed with Allah's blessings.
And Brother Minhal, lastly.
I think it's been a very, very good conversation. If you don't mind,
please go ahead. We've got time.
I'd like to ask the dear viewers, because a friend of mine who I deal very closely, who's like a brother to me, his grandfather, who's a staunch servant of Ahlebait alayhim wassalam in Iraq, who was one of the classical mullahs who used to read eulogies for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, by the name of Al-Marhum Syed Nazar Abu Rayha, recently died, I think 2 days ago. So if I could ask all the viewers and the panel to recite Surah Al-Fatiha for him, inshallah your ajr would be with Abu Abdullah Hussein di Ahlebait alayhim salam.
Inshallah, we will continue. I thank all my guests, Syed Razavi, who's always here giving us the Islamic insight. Brother Omar, who's traveled from really few hours to get here last minute, and Minhal, brother in Minhal, thank you so much for your insights and lots of things to take away. Inshallah, we only hope to improve our mindsets, to only grow and develop, because this is a show that's only going to help us to integrate not just within Western society, but within our Muslim communities, between our other brothers and sisters, even our neighbors, wherever they come from. And yes, the stigmas will always exist, but hopefully they will lessen, and they'll be far and few in between, because we're going to have more conversation, we're going to parent better, we're going to speak differently, we're going to look at each other not just from the backgrounds that we come from, the colors that we have on our skin, but more from a human point of view. And this is the real Islam, this is the real religion, and I think we need to come together, an alliance in that way. Inshallah, we will be back with more topics, different guests, and more insights. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for everyone who's called in, and we hope to hear more from the audience in future. And inshallah, we'll be back next week with a new open dialogue. Take care, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.